So this roasted tomato sauce is a favorite in my house and amongst my readers. It is easy to make and to adjust to your tastes, and best of all, it requires no skimming and no de-seeding. So this recipe freezes wonderfully and it tastes amazing. So this recipe is very versatile and the amounts can be changed and altered based on your tastes. So to make this roasted tomato sauce, you will need tomatoes, a good amount of them. You will need onion, garlic. I use a whole head because I really like garlic. You will need salt and pepper to taste, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and fresh basil and oregano. You can use dry if that is all you have, but fresh is so much better. So to start, you are going to have your tomatoes and place them in your pan. I use this large roasting pan. It is basically the one you would use for your Thanksgiving turkey. I usually fill it up pretty high, almost full or overflowing. Like I said, the amounts in this recipe will vary based on your taste, and you can make as little or as much as you want at a time. So you're just going to keep on having your tomatoes, I'm cutting the cores off first, until your pan is full. I'm going to add in a few of my heirloom slicers just to add a little extra flavor to the sauce. If they're bigger tomatoes, I will core them, or I will quarter them, not core them. So most of these are Romas because they have less water content, so your sauce won't be as runny. So my pan is full. You can add more if you want. I'm going to add a couple more. You do need to be able to have enough room to stir and toss it, so don't overflow it too much. Next, you're going to add onion, at least one. You can add more if you like that in your sauce. I'm just going to quarter the onion. And I've got another small one here to add as well. Next, I'm going to add a whole head of garlic. The garlic has been peeled and bruised but not chopped, so I'm just going to throw the whole cloves in there. Then you're going to sprinkle with liberally with salt. I use Redmond's real salt. Again, you can adjust the amount based on your own personal tastes. Then I'm going to add my fresh oregano. I'm not even going to take it off the stems, I'm just going to put it on top. The basil you will add at the end, and if you're using dried oregano, I would add that at the end as well, as opposed to right now. Then you're going to drizzle with balsamic and olive oil. Don't skimp on these, they really add a lot of flavor. And then using your hands, you're just going to get in there and toss it really well so that all of the tomatoes are covered in oil and in balsamic vinegar. You want to get the herbs getting covered too so they don't burn. And that is it. So then you are going to place your pan in the oven at about 400 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour until they are roasted. So once the tomatoes are done, it's time to blend them up. You can use an immersion blender or a regular blender. I prefer to use my Vitamix because it just really destroys all the skins and seeds, and it makes the sauce really smooth. So you are just going to transfer all of the tomatoes using a slotted spoon to your blender. You'll likely have to work in batches, so don't worry about getting everything in one. This is also when you're going to add your basil. I tend to add a lot of basil, not all at once in every batch, but a good handful in every batch in the blender. And then you're going to turn it on high and blend it until it's really smooth. Then pour it into a large bowl and keep going until you have done all of your tomatoes. Don't worry about getting all of the juice in there, but I do make sure I get all of the tomatoes, all of the onions, and all of the garlic cloves. So at this point, you'll have a pan with the remaining juices in it. It's up to you if you want to add this to your sauce or not. It can thin it down a little too much. I usually just make sure that I get all the tomatoes and onions and garlic and herbs, and then I call it good. You can save this juice to add to your soups if you want. You can stick it in the freezer in ice cube trays if you don't want it to go to waste. So once all the sauce is blended and mixed, give it a taste and adjust it to your tastes. You can add more salt, more pepper, more balsamic vinegar. Sometimes if I feel like the tomatoes are a little too acidic, I'll add a little honey just to tone that down. And then stir and taste again and make sure it's perfect for your tastes. So this sauce freezes really well. You can freeze it in freezer bags. I usually measure out 2-cup portions and then freeze the bags flat to preserve space in the freezer. I also really like these freezer containers. They are BPA free and they're inexpensive but reusable. You can use them over and over again. And they hold a quart of sauce. Just make sure you leave headspace or the lid will pop off when freezing. And that's it. That is all there is. Perfect, easy tomato sauce without peeling, without removing seeds or cooking down for hours. Of course, if the sauce is too thin for your liking, you can cook it down if you'd like, but I think it is perfect as is. Don't worry about the color. When you blend it on a high-speed blender, it won't be as vibrant red as maybe you are used to. Also, the variety of tomatoes can change the color. I used a few yellow tomatoes in here, which makes the color a little more orange than bright red. All of that is perfectly normal and it still tastes amazing.